Hey friends, welcome to another video. My name is Immy if you're new here, and we talk about all things to do with low impact living, sustainability, seasonal eating, and lots of meal prep and food prep videos. So I made a video last year about my favourite autumnal meals, and this year I thought I'd do a similar thing but take the foundational principles of those meals and experiment. So I am looking at other people's recipes to try and recreate my favourite meals and just try something new, experiment, look at seasonality and locality and how we can eat and try different flavours from different cultures, recipes, all of those really beautiful things. If you do like this video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing because it really supports my channel, especially in that YouTube algorithm. So today we're going to be starting with Rainbow Plant Life's recipe to end all plant-based recipes, her tofu tikka masala. All recipes will be linked below. I started to learn how to cook and eat seasonally because I wanted to further my knowledge around where our food comes from and how I could extend my individual action to be more sustainable. The past couple of years, however, have seen some of the worst environmental disasters in history, and these affect every aspect of our lives, including food security and the strength of our systems to feed the world. In the lead up to this year's 26th Conference of Parties, or COP26, I have really been trying to zoom out and look at the big picture and how we need governments and businesses to set ambitious targets and commit to them. This year also saw the release of the latest IPCC report, which plainly outlined that we are in a state of emergency, with experts calling it a code red for humanity. But if we act fast, we could avoid catastrophe. For those of you who don't know, the IPCC passes its learnings on to policymakers so they can make decisions based on the best available and credible science. It's extremely important that we pay attention to COP26 because this is where our leaders will meet to set out more ambitious goals and investments for ending their contribution to climate change. I started my YouTube channel, my cooking journey, and my zero waste lifestyle to make a difference. COP26 is where our leaders can make the most important and pivotal difference to climate change and the lives of those already impacted by its consequences. The Climate Coalition's campaign is asking people, businesses, community groups and organisations to sign a declaration that will be addressed to the Prime Minister in order to show the UK government that the public care about climate change and demand climate action. Signing the declaration is a way for us to use our voice and a powerful action to show our government that we demand better, that we demand climate justice. Please consider taking a few moments out of your day to sign the declaration and share it as widely as possible. The link to the declaration will be in the description box below. Okay, let's talk what we're actually doing here. So I'm making the tofu tikka masala, as I said before, and I just marinated the tofu for about 2 hours. And then I put it in a pan that was preheated in the oven. And then that goes back into the oven to cook for another 12 to 15 minutes. Here I'm making the masala sort of sauce, and it's got lots of ingredients. It really is an absolute labour of love, but I think it's worth it. I think if you have some time on your hands and you want to make a special meal, this is a flavourful, hearty, delicious autumn meal, I think. Although some people may not think it's autumnal, but I don't know, to me it is. It's a deep, rich, tomatoey curry that's just heavenly. Once you take the tofu out of the oven, then it's time to mix everything together, basically. I'm adding in the last spices, the garam masala, and what else do we have here? Oh yeah, some vegan butter, which I was surprised about, but loved. And then of course coconut milk. Mix that all in to make sure everything is well mixed, and then you add the tofu, mix that in, but you've got to be very gentle because of course tofu is quite fiddly. And then you serve. The next dish that I'm making is a chili. I love chili. Chili is one of the things that I just think screams autumn, especially when you use all the seasonal vegetables like pumpkin or sweet potato or other things you can just throw in there. I particularly love using pumpkins or squash that are wild colours, and just, it's a really nice way to try different things. This one, however, is an avant-garde vegan recipe because I wanted to try a new recipe. I wanted to try something different, break out of my little box. So we're using a small pumpkin and we're saving those seeds for our granola recipe at the end. I only used half of this pumpkin because it was a bit bigger than the one that he used. And I was really surprised that actually this recipe didn't take that long to make at all. It was not that many ingredients either. It was fairly straightforward, and yet it still had this sort of luxurious flavour. This is the most exciting part for me, the fact that it had oyster mushrooms. This is of course mushroom season right now, so obviously I love mushrooms, and I didn't realise that you could pull them apart like this, which was quite fun. He smoked his in some kind of outdoor cooker thing. I obviously don't have one of those, I'm not quite sure who does. I also used some plant-based meat or mince. He uses his own homemade seitan, but honestly, I just could not be bothered to make that. I was already making a whole meal from scratch. So I just got some mince that I thought I would try, which actually turned out to be pretty good. I can't remember what the name of it is now. Anyway, you literally just throw all the ingredients into the pot after a while. The chocolate is the most luxurious part. And that's pretty much it. Then I add some water and baked it in the oven for about 45 minutes. And you're done. I definitely recommend this one because, I mean, look at that. So we went on a mushroom foraging workshop to learn more about what's in season right now.
This ink, which is that in the past it was proof that it's a genuine article rather than a forgery. To see the structure of this ink, which is completely unique to the mushroom.
Package like of ink knew what it would be like in the future.
It was amazing what this guy Miles Irving had to tell us, and it was such a wonderful workshop, just learning more about mushrooms, foraging, but of course how to be safe as well.
Compounds. You make a tea by sort of stewing it for ages. An edible fungus if you know how to treat it right. I tend to just sort of rock them and roll them over so you get the whole of the stem base. So what you tend to do is just cut off the bit with the dirt on it, because you don't want that in your basket or your Hessian sack, because it will get inside the gills and just be a right pain to get the mushroom clean then.
After the workshop we went back to this place called the Foragers Retreat in Essex, and Miles made us a delicious meal and we tried some different things.
If you tasted the two things separately, you'd get a score of 2 each, yeah, for umami. When you put them together, you have 2 add 2 equals 9. You see, that's the umami synergy. The whole is greater than the parts. The synergy means that the two things being there together means you have a greater experience of umami when you have both together. So that's what we're going to do with these mushrooms.
Market research, we were like, hold on, let's stop trying to be... Actually, it was Heston was the one in a tasting, and he was like, can you stop calling this slow braised beef?
Yeah, so it holds its shape really tightly. I made a little pasta last week on Sunday and didn't tell my friends that came and just rolled it up.
Eating stuff that's cooked on a fire, you would get these smoky elements on top of the melee.
Okay, we're making a lasagna. In my opinion, this is not a lasagna, but that's what the recipe says, so we'll go with that. As you know, I'm a huge fan of lasagna. I make a lasagna all the time. I think I made one in my ultimate favourites video last year. I think it was in that video, but either way, you all know I love lasagna. So this year I tried a minimalist baker recipe, which was a butternut squash. I used a queen squash because I wanted to try something different, and also it tasted really good. So it's a little bit sweeter than a butternut squash. I think that's really all the difference there is. Again, I saved the seeds for the granola recipe at the end as well. This recipe was extraordinarily easy. Honestly, you just bake the squash in the oven with the garlic, you fry the onions and the mushrooms. I didn't have any cremini, I think that's how you say it, mushrooms, so we just used what was available and UK grown. It also told me to boil the lasagna sheets. I remember many of you have also said that that's a good thing to do. It's just an extra step that I usually can't be bothered to do, but it did make handling them quite a bit easier, if they didn't get stuck together, that is. So instead of it having a traditional kind of tomato-based sauce, this is basically squash, garlic, lemon juice, cashew nuts, which I don't usually use, nutritional yeast, salt, and a bit of water, all blended up. And that will be the kind of, I guess, only sauce that goes in this lasagna. After that, you just started to stack everything. In the other mixture with the mushrooms, you also have kale, and yeah, I just started layering up. Seriously, it was one of the easiest things I think I've ever made. Well, actually no, that's a complete exaggeration. It's not one of the easiest things I've ever made, but it was pretty easy. And yeah, I didn't have enough sauce for the top, so that's why it looks a bit strange. I think actually it ended up being a little bit too sweet for me. Maybe I should have gone for a less sweet squash. You might think that that's ridiculous, but it really was quite sweet. I also put on I tried some Violife Parmesan, and yeah, still not a fan of vegan cheese. I don't know why I tried to make myself. I would give this probably a 6 out of 10. I wasn't the biggest fan. Maybe that's just because I love lasagna so much. But you know what? It's important to try new things. Okay, lastly, we're making some granola because in the autumn/winter, I absolutely love making porridge with like poached pears or poached apples on porridge and some granola. This one is a really simple one. I've made this before. It's just oats and then those pumpkin seeds that I used and the squash seeds. Whatever nuts I had in the cupboard, which was some pecan nuts and some hazelnuts. Then we just put some maple syrup, cinnamon, cocoa powder, make sure it's fair trade, and mix it all up. The pecans, maybe I should have put it in at the end. They do tend to burn quite easily, unfortunately. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed this recipes. And I hope you enjoyed just seeing someone who isn't a professional chef or isn't a kind of YouTuber chef try out these recipes to show you how easy they are or how difficult they are and what they actually taste like. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and maybe hit subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.